Okay, everybody. I'm just about done with the restoration on this. But kind of want to show you what I got going on here. First thing, I did change these out with the BNC connectors. And I pulled all these knobs off and these here. And you know, sometimes these binding posts, or you maybe call it banana jack, but this ain't quite a banana jack. These binding posts. You know, some's got a little stop on them, and you go so far and they just won't come off. They have to really force it, and you might break it. And some of them, if you put a little extra force, they'll come off, and then you can force it to get it back on. It's kind of designed that way so you don't just spin it all the way off and drop it when you're in use. But a lot of them will come off, and it's nice these came off, so I just take them and drop them in the ultrasonic cleaner. Same with these knobs here. And clean this face up. And I've pulled out this screen here. You can see what I've had to do. I've had to drop the two screws on the bottom of these screws and it lifts back up, and I was very careful with it. Took the two screws. We got a ground here for this audio transformer. And then where this resistor's going to ground, I've took that and loose. And I've took the tubes out and cleaned them. I just got that one stuck back in because I was checking fit and stuff with it's kind of stiff when I was putting everything in. So, done that. Now if we look at the bottom here, let's flip it this way. You can, that noise you might hear is my chair squeaking. I may have to put some oil on that again. But here you can see I've changed out the capacitors with these high quality Illinois capacitor brand capacitors. All of them's been changed out. I've put a safety capacitor here where that other waxy was. And then here you remember that cathode capacitor here that was that big fat, you know, it was a 10 microfarad 25 volt, and it took up about that much room in there. And now it's a little bitty thing, and this one's even 50 volt and a good Rubicon. So change that out. And then up here I had to put in a terminal tie strip. Of course, that capacitor up top, cut all that loose and replace it with these four capacitors here. And there's really not a right and wrong way to do it. Of course, there's aesthetics too, but I've got two going off this way, and these two are standing up, just to get everything right in this area without having to relocate it and all that. Checked out all the resistors out. Everything's checking out good, except for I had one resistor that was bad in the power supply section. Well, I mean, you call it bad, but it's a 10K and it was reading almost 15K. So that'll, you know, make the voltage wrong. But I've done all that. I've cleaned all the contacts on the potentiometers. If you remember, this here I couldn't even turn. It was so hard. If I turned the knob was rotating on the shaft, and the shaft wouldn't turn. And you can see there's marks in there. I can put catch on my fingernail where that set screw was digging into and just leaving ridges in this shaft. But now I can take my fingers and just turn it, no problem. Same thing up here. This one was the same way up here. Now I can just, you can hear me turn it back and forth just as you please. And I put a meter on it and it goes all the way around. You know, there's no sudden jumps or anything. It just smoothly goes up and back down, same way down here. So should be okay. The switches, all that's been cleaned up. So just about ready to fire this up. Got to get the screen back in here. I took the screen out. If I hold to the light just right, you can see still, you just right, you can still see the outline of where this hole is, even after I've cleaned it several times You gotta be careful of this screen because it can come apart. Like this right here come off of this screen. You can see that. Yeah, you can see that. So be careful, don't pull this, on it and break it or anything. But if you had to, this is regular screen. You don't have to go to a special company. And there's companies that sell, antique parts and stuff for things. This is like window, door, screen, heavy duty stuff. It ain't the fiberglass or plastic like some of these new screen doors and stuff are, but it's metal, aluminum. But you can just cut you a piece out, from something you could probably get at a Walmart or something, or a dollar store maybe even. I don't know if dollar store sells screening, and cut you a square out of it. But I've straightened it out a lot. It was really bowed. And stick that back in there. And like I said, it ain't going to affect the operation. It's just for the aesthetics, but stick that back in there. When you do take these out, though, try to remember which orientation it was, because when somebody sticks that in there and pushes these holes through, sometimes, this should be a perfect square. Bring the camera down. This should be a perfect square here, but sometimes it's not on some things. And then sometimes, see, this is going to go, of course, behind there, but if something's really close, like where this here's pulled off, sometimes if the screws are not perfectly squared up on the hole, it may do that. But if you flip it the other way, then it's going to, square up. So something to pay attention to, too. But, of course, you can always just go, well, nope, oh, there it is. But anyway, so there's what I've got done so far. It's all cleaned up. So I'm going to get the screen back in, and I think it'll be ready to fire it up here in just a little bit. But I just kind of want to show you, right, instead of here it is unrestored, here it is today fully restored, just kind of over a couple things. Show you what I'm doing there. I don't hardly ever show the soldering on here because that, to me, would be kind of boring. I know some people like it though, but you can always leave comments down below if you want to see some soldering or whatever. But anyway, so let me get this back in and get it all hooked up, and we'll fire it up and see what she does. Alright guys, I have it all put back together here, as you can see. Got all the tubes in it. Bring this light a little better here. All the tubes are in. Got the screen back in over the speaker. Nice and straight. So, and nothing else much more to the bottom. The only thing I've not done, I've checked the line cord, and it looks to be in good enough shape to keep on. It's not too stiff. I need to clean it up. I have not cleaned up the case that goes on it, but I mean, probably nobody really cares about that. So let's fire this thing up and see what it does. I'll go ahead and turn the switch on. I'm going to start it off about 60 volts. And there she goes. Yeah, I'm curious too, as much as you are, to see this thing light up and do its thing. Yeah, it's just okay. Yeah, only tube I can see in is that rectifier, and it's slowly getting a little bit of, yeah, it's not enough voltage to light that up, but nothing crazy yet. So let's go ahead and bring it up. I'm seeing a little green. You can see that. There you go. A little bit of green in there. No weird smells, no pops or smoke or anything. So let's go ahead and bring it on up. There we go. It's at the full bore there. So Now I gotta be careful where I stick my fingers, especially over here on this side. If I grab it underneath, there's high voltage. And you can see the eye maybe. Let me just take this off a minute. See that eye tube. Alright, so okay, so the main thing I want to know now is I'm pretty sure it's going to be there, but I want to see. I've not made the modification yet like Paul Carlson did, so I'm just as anxious here, or maybe I'm more anxious than you are to see this. But things up. I got the speaker off, high gain off. Let's leave the high gain off. Let's turn the speaker on. Tracer mode, and let's see. I'll kind of move the mic over just a little bit, so if it sounds a different sound change. Let's see what we got here. Yep, there it is. Let me just take the mic and move it closer to make sure. I'm sure you're probably picking that up, but you may hear other noises in the background, but it's raining pretty hard here right now. Yep, there's that noise. And right off the bat, if I happen to watch that video before, I'd be thinking, oh, I didn't clean it good enough, or whatever. So, before we can make sure that it's working here. I'm going to take it on these cheap oscilloscope probes. You can just buy off Amazon, eBay, wherever for a few dollars. Got it set in the 1X mode. Put it here on the, what they're calling the audio input. So I don't need the high gain. Give it a little bit of volume. And put the signal generator on. Well, first of all, I should just get some volume. Yeah. So just should be able to hear that. So it's picking up the AC in the house. That microphone moved again. So got the signal generator set on 700 hertz. That's good enough. Let me bring that down. It's probably gonna be kind of loud, I hope. See how loud that is. Just barely got the gain here turned up. So in theory, if I move this over here, turn this up, I'll turn this on. That should be louder without touching that. Wow, and yes, it's very much louder. Very, very, very much louder. So, we know the high gain section is working, the low gain, if you want to call it that. Good. Good, good, good. All that's doing good. So, let me make that modification. And I've got, carefully move this over. I've already picked me out a 5.6 meg resistor. This is a new old stock Allen Bradley quarter watt. And that should be just fine. I prefer to use half watts and everything just because it's the looks. Matches, but quarter watt will work. And here's a 0.01. See that. .01 capacitor, and I still got to find the full side. You can see I've not marked it yet, but gotta do that. Okay, well, let me get that modification made and I'll finish up this video. Okay, I want to show you what I've got going on here. I'm almost got this done. I've made the modification here like Mr. Carlson showed in his video. I've got this capacitor here from pin 4. I have this tube here that's going into the coax now. That's really good and solid. And then come from pin 4 to ground with the 5.6 meg resistor. So that should be good. So let me see if I can let's just heat this up a little here. Let's put this back in. Okay. I just want to get that out of the way there so you can see. I guess you can still kind of see there what's going on. So that should finish everything up here. So let's set it back down here and listen and see. So plug it back in, turn on the current limited supply. Turn it on. You just probably have to, turn these on. Just this, so you don't need this for anything, for doing tracer. So you just barely need to click it on. I don't hear noise like it sounds like I just turned on a radio or something. It's coming up, but see it's lit up. I can hear noise. Look at there. That's on the high gain side. No matter how much I turn that, we ain't got the crackling and the popping going on. Okay, so let's hook the probe up. Just doing my finger there, but boy, you wouldn't want to do that with this noise mode. You'll definitely feel it. There you go. So it's working now. It should get quite a bit louder over here. Very much so. So there you go. Through the magic of filmmaking, ta-da! I've got the case back on it and cleaned up. I didn't put the handle back on. I cleaned it up but put it up in case I ever wanted to sell it or whatever, or put it back on. Or it just gets in the way, if I'm trying to stack stuff or whatever on it, because I'm gonna set this right up here. And use it. So I think I've pretty much went over everything. As you've seen, everything works good. The only thing though now we've got left to try is the watt meter. So I've got it sitting here in watt meter mode. Another thing I still want to kind of point out, remember, like say I had my hand kind of laid here just talking. You gotta be careful with, especially, you can get zapped there a little, but right here, watch putting your fingers around this right here, especially back in there, because there's live voltage there right now, 300 and some volts sitting right there, so you don't want that to zap you. And this is the next day after I filmed the rest of it, and I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but it's a little bit raspy, but this weather changing is trying to get my voice a little bit. But anyway, so I'm going to hook up. We're going to try the watt meter real quick. Now, this is non-polarized plug here, 2-prong, and I found me. I'm going to use a shop light. You know, like those ones you just the old-fashioned with a regular screw-in Edison bulb that you'd work on a car or something with outside. And you can see how dirty this is from outside. And what I'm going to do is slide this over it, because see, this is polarized too, and it's got this here. I really don't want to cut that off, so I've kind of very carefully pushed it back, because I kind of want to leave the ground on there, especially if this gets dropped in something working outside that's wet. But so I've just slid this little thing on here, but just for this test, I wouldn't recommend doing this. I know plenty of people that say, "Oh, give me some paradox here. Cut that stupid thing off right there," and they cut it off. But anyway, so I'm going to use that. I'll stick in here. When you drop the camera down so it's more, and you can see that eye tube. I think you can see it okay. Maybe I'll elevate it just a little bit. Bring the light away just a little bit. That way you can see that opening of that eye tube right there. And I turn this light on over here. You can see it right over here. It came on. It's pretty bright. It's a 100-watt light bulb. And I already put the case back on this, and I'm like, dang it, I forgot to check that. But the resistors and everything in the circuit tested okay, so let's see how she does. So when I bring this up, you can see that eye tube. You can see it's closed now. See, when I turn this off, see how that opened back up? You just bring you on in there good. Turn the light on, see how that closed? Yeah, take some of that light off. You can really see it now. Still a lot of glare on it, don't it? Let's see, I turn this light on. It closed right up, and I'm setting around 55 watts over here. So, when I turn this, that eye should just barely open. Well, it just barely kind of opens, you know, what the... Let me just show you. And it should read about 100 watts. Yeah, I can see it starting to move. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I can see it starting to move. And right about there. See how it's just barely open. I hope you can see that. I can see it here. Let me zoom in some more here. It's going to want to be a little blurry, so back off just a hair. Let's see, get myself out of the shot. It's closed. I'm looking in the monitor now, trying to see if I can see it. It's barely opened right there. Yeah, you can see it. Not perfect, but you can see that, how that just barely opened. And we go over here and look. Well, that's pretty good, ain't it? That is a hair, not quite 100 on 100, but 95, 96 watts. And like I said before, these bulbs, you know, they're manufactured. If you took a $10,000 piece of equipment that was really good calibrated, and you stuck a 100-watt light bulb in it from manufacturer A, it may read 98 watts. Pull it out, put another one in from the same manufacturer from a different run, it might read 102 watts. You take another brand, it might read 95 watts. A different brand might read 105 watts. So they're going to vary a little bit there. And then this here ain't a perfect, you know, piece of test equipment either. You know, high dollar fancy piece of test equipment for measuring wattage. It's kind of an added feature they put on here. So that's pretty close. So that's pretty close right there. So that will work. So we know that part. I open back up. I turned that off. Let's take that back out of there. There you go. The Heathkit T-3 signal tracer. So if you have one of these and you want to restore it, I hope this helps you. If you got one, you're looking for one, these are pretty good little piece of test equipment here. I was playing around with it some last night and doing some signal tracing with it and things like that, just to see, and yeah, it's working pretty good. I'm glad I've got it set up on the desk. You can make a real cheap throw something together nowadays, something you can hold in your hand. It wouldn't even be even this big, with a point on it, put a little battery in it, with some little microchip in there. You can even use a 555 and to make noise a little bit with some gain. And a couple 3 or 4 transistors, gained up, and all surface mount stuff. And put a little piezo speaker in this thing, and you go bzz, bzz, it would work. But it's not the same as using something like this from 1950s, and a nice big speaker and different things it can do. And then of course you can plug in different you can make your probe different ways. You can use an active probe, plug it into this. You can make you a probe that's got gain to it already, and just use this for your amplifier. That's even better than this for sniffing out small things, or whatever you want to do. And it's nice, you can just plug in different probe into this and use this for your audio. And if you get that little hand thing, it's good for a few things, but this here makes it more versatile. But hey, it's not the same as the tubes, right? So the old tube stuff we're running in it, it's something I can run now for several more years and still keep doing the job. So alright, hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope it helps somebody out. And until the next video, this is Michael, KE4EST 73.